A look outside the Beltway at Pennsylvania's state capitol in Harrisburg, where we had the first interview with Hillary Clinton since she became the Democratic nominee. Perhaps the biggest challenge the Clinton campaign faces now is trying to deal with the doubts that millions of voters have about her honesty. We asked her about the key flashpoints, Benghazi, and her private emails. One of the most dramatic moments in the Republican convention was when Pat Smith, the mother of Sean Smith, one of the people who died in Benghazi, stood up before the convention and blamed you for her son's death.
I blame Hillary Clinton. I blame Hillary Clinton personally for the death of my son. That's personally.
She and the father of Tyrone Woods both say that on the day that their sons' bodies were returned to the United States, that you came up to them and you said it was all because of a video, not terrorism. Now, I know some of the other families disagree with this, and I know you deny it. My question is, why would they make that up?
Chris, my heart goes out to both of them. Losing a child under any circumstances, especially in this case, two State Department employees, extraordinary men, both of them, two CIA contractors, gave their lives protecting our country, our values. I understand the grief and the incredible sense of loss that can motivate that. As other members of families who lost loved ones have said, that's not what they heard. I don't hold any ill feeling for someone who, in that moment, may not fully recall everything that was or wasn't said.
One reason that people question your account, and this gets to the important question of trust, is because that day at Andrews, you never talked about terrorism. You talked about the video.
We've seen the heavy assault on our post in Benghazi that took the lives of those brave men. We've seen rage and violence directed at American embassies over an awful internet video that we had nothing to do with. No, that's not fair. If you go back and read everything that I said that day, I quoted people who talked about it being terrorism. I had already said it was terrorism. There was no doubt it was terrorism. I think there has been a confusion in the minds of some, and exploiting that confusion for the advantage of others.
I have a quote here where you say...
But look at everything I said. Because, and this goes back to all the investigations that were carried out. There were riots, there were protests, there were efforts to breach our embassies.
Yeah, but not in Benghazi. That wasn't what that was about.
No, but I'm just telling you, we were looking at the whole world. The whole world was aflame.
The emails.
Yes.
I want to ask you about just one aspect of them, and that's what you told the American people.
I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified materials. I am confident that I never sent nor received any information that was classified at the time. I had not sent classified material nor received anything marked classified.
After a long investigation, FBI Director James Comey said none of those things that you told the American public were true.
Chris, that's not what I heard Director Comey say, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to, in my view, clarify. Director Comey said that my answers were truthful and what I've said is consistent with what I have told the American people. That there were decisions discussed and made to classify retroactively certain of the emails. I was communicating with over 300 people in my emailing. They certainly did not believe and had no reason to believe that what they were sending was classified. Now, in retrospect, different agencies come in and say, well, it should have been, but that's not what was happening in real time.
But in a congressional hearing on July 7th, Director Comey directly contradicted what you had told the public.
Secretary Clinton said there was nothing marked classified on her emails either sent or received. Was that true? That's not true.
Secretary Clinton said I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified material. Was that true?
There was classified material emailed.
He directly contradicted what...
Well,
let me just he not only directly contradicted what you said, he also said in that hearing that you were extremely careless and negligent.
Well, Chris, I looked at the whole transcript of everything that was said, and what I believe is, number one, I made a mistake not using two different email addresses. I have said that, and I repeat it again today. It is certainly not anything that I ever would do again. I take classification seriously. I relied on and had every reason to rely on the judgments of the professionals with whom I worked. And so in retrospect, maybe some people are saying, well, among those 300 people, they made the wrong call. At the time, there was no reason, in my view, to doubt the professionalism and the determination by the people who work every single day on behalf of our country.
Let's talk about the Clinton Foundation and allegations of pay to play. The argument, the allegation that foreign companies and foreign countries either donated big money to the foundation or paid your husband big money for speeches in order to influence your work as Secretary of State. In the first 12 years after he left the White House, President Clinton made 13 speeches for which he got $500,000 or more. 11 of those 13 were while you were Secretary of State, and they were all paid for by foreign interests. Are we to believe that's just a coincidence?
Well, there's just no truth to any of these allegations.
I mean, it is true that they did make these speeches. They all were by foreign interests, and he was getting much bigger speaking fees.
He gave speeches as soon as he left the White House, all the way up until last year. And he spoke all over the world, as well as throughout America, to all kinds of groups. But let's get to the nut of your question. I'm really proud of the Clinton Foundation. I am proud of the work that it does. Thanks to the Clinton Foundation, 9 million more people in our world have access to HIV/AIDS drugs because they negotiated contracts that made them affordable. And there is absolutely no connection between anything that I did as Secretary of State and the Clinton Foundation. So people can say that, but I'm proud of our philanthropic work, our personal family philanthropic work, the work of the Clinton Foundation. I'd like to see Donald Trump's tax returns to find out how much philanthropy he's ever done.
In your acceptance speech, you addressed people's continuing doubts about you.
I get it, that some people just don't know what to make of me.
Forgive me, Secretary Clinton, but the Americans know what they think of you. 2/3 of them don't trust you.
Well, here's what I know, Chris. I have work to do to make sure people know what I have done and what I will do. That's part of what this convention was about. I feel very comfortable that the more people learn about what I've actually done, not the caricature, but the real deal, as my husband said in his remarks, they will understand why I was elected twice to the United States Senate, in the second time with a 67% vote, why my former opponent, President-elect Obama, trusted me to be Secretary of State. Every time I run for an office, though, oh my goodness, all of these caricatures come out of nowhere, and people begin to undermine me, because when I left office as Secretary of State, 66% of Americans approved of what I did.
You don't think there's any legitimate reason people would have doubts about your, to use the phrase in the polls, honesty and trustworthiness?
Well, I think that it's fair for Americans to have questions. I hope you'll ask Donald Trump why he is so untrusted by the American people.
I have.
I have a long record of public service that I can point to that's actually produced results for people. So when I talk about what I want to do in public life, what I want to do as president, people can go back and say, hey, you know what? She said she was going to get health care for America's children. She did. 8 million kids now have health care, and their families don't have to worry about losing their house to take care of their sick kid. I am proud of my record of public service and the results that I've gotten to help people have better lives.
It has been 96 years since women got the right to vote. A couple of questions. Has it emotionally fully sunk in yet, the barrier you broke, one more barrier to Americans' full participation in the process? And how emotional was Thursday night for you?
It was way over the top emotional. My biggest concern going out there to make that speech Thursday night was whether or not I could control my emotions.
You say whether you could control your emotions. What was your concern?
That I would start crying. I mean, that was my big concern. Also, watching my daughter and having her waiting on stage when I came out, I was pretty concerned about whether I'd make it through the speech.
You talked a lot in the convention about your mom.
Yes.
And about her hard childhood and about her resilience and the lessons she taught you. I wonder, in these last few days, have you been thinking of her, and what do you imagine she's thinking of you?
Oh, Chris, I've thought about her. Well, I think about her every day, and particularly during the convention. I thought a lot about her when Chelsea got up to speak, because she and my daughter were so close, and I thought a lot about her when I walked out onto that stage to deliver that address. And actually, that was the part of the speech that concerned me the most. Anytime I talk about my mom, I get, very overcome. She wouldn't like what she saw at the Republican convention, where, just the outrageous things that were said, and the kind of normalization of really offensive rhetoric in our politics. She wouldn't have liked any of that. She was a big Fox viewer, I will tell you. And
really?
Yes, she was. And
Why didn't you take that from her?
Well, I once said to her, because she would get upset, I'll be honest with you. She would get upset when some of the people you had on would say these terrible things about me. And that was when I was a senator running for president and for the first 2 years of being Secretary of State. And I would say, well, Mom, if it upsets you so much, why do you keep watching? And she said, well, I like some of the people, and I have to know what the other ones are saying so I can understand and be against it. So I think she had a very strategic reason for watching. She said to me one time, Hillary, I don't understand. You were such a wonderful child to raise, and you never gave me a minute's trouble or worry. Then you become an adult, and you get into politics, and I just worry all the time. So she would worry, but she would be encouraging, and she would say what she said to me when I was 4 years old, in the face of a bully, because honestly, I think that describes my opponent. I feel I have to get out there, go back out there, stand up to him, not just on my own behalf, because I can take care of myself, but on behalf of all these other people who he has so mistreated in this campaign.
Secretary Clinton, thank you. Thanks for talking with us.
Thank you, Chris.
Safe travels.
Thanks a lot. Take care.